In the 1990s, artisanal mining emerged in Mongolia as an alternative form of income generation for thousands of people in response to persistent and widespread poverty. The majority of the artisanal miners were herders who lost all their livestock in successive dzuds and were left with little choice but to seek other forms of economic survival. Until recently, the work undertaken by an estimated 100,000 artisanal or ninja miners was illegal, unorganized, and associated with such social problems as alcoholism, crime, and child labor. Artisanal miners have also been blamed for using toxic mercury in their gold extraction activities, polluting rivers and springs, destroying native vegetation, and land degradation. There are frequent conflicts between artisanal miners, large-scale mining companies, and local herders. It was common for artisanal miners to invade and raid large-scale mines. The raids would sometimes turn violent. In response, those large mines, which usually had high level of security, would use force to secure their land, which often violated the rights of the artisanal miners.
It wasn't easy for us before. We, the artisanal miners, dig for gold in order to make our living. Sometimes we had to raid the large mining company's licensed area. Of course, they have high security. We often get our equipment and tools confiscated. We would be arrested by the local police and company security guards and had to pay heavy fines to recollect our equipment and metal detectors. We would be chased by police and company security vehicles. We were also detained for several days when we were caught. I have been working as a small-scale miner for 6 to 7 years. We are nicknamed ninjas. We had to cross over a high mountain to get into a 40 to 50 meter deep pit of the mine, and we often hurt ourselves from fleeing from the company securities. Of course, we had bad names and fames since we were invading a large mine's territory.
Seeing the potential of artisanal mining as a viable employment option for unemployed poor, the Swiss Agency for Development Cooperation began a project with an attempt to support the legislation and formalization of artisanal mining in Mongolia. In order to develop artisanal mining into a sustainable small-scale mining sector, enabling legislation and appropriate government policy were needed in order to regulate those issues pertinent to the artisanal mining sector. The Parliament of Mongolia, with support from the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, legalized the artisanal and small-scale mining sector through amendments to the Minerals Law and the enactment of the Law on Artisanal Small-Scale Mining in 2010. And this provided appropriate organizational structures for miners to enable them to use natural resources more efficiently and in a more environmentally friendly manner. As a result, up to 100,000 artisanal miners have an opportunity to formalize their operations and no longer work illegally in Mongolia. SDC's Sustainable Artisanal Mining Project was called in as a mediator to resolve conflict. For example, in Zamorsum, Tuvamag, the project facilitated negotiation between the Association of Artisanal Miners, one of the large gold mining companies, and the local government. As a result, the Mondolan Company, one of the many operating in Zamorsum, allowed more than 50 local artisanal miners to work on their site 3 days a week.
After the legal framework regulating artisanal mining in Mongolia was approved by the government, our NGO came into a cooperation agreement with Mondulon Company. Since then, our condition has become much more favorable. By working in the pit floor of Mondulon Company in an organized form, our income has increased significantly. Within 5 days, we have recovered 494 grams of gold, which is almost similar to the medium or small-scale mining company output.
These legislative provisions mean that artisanal miners will be able to secure mining land and hence viable workplaces and a stable income. They will also be able to work without fear of reprisals and the associated stress involved, and will have access to occupational safety services and social welfare and health services. Now that artisanal mining is legislated and small-scale miners are rightfully entitled to be allocated working land, we're willing to offer them work fueled on the company's mine site with the strict requirement that they follow safety standards. So we have begun cooperating with local miners to support their responsible mining initiatives. We were able to reach a tripartite agreement between our mining company, the Miner Association, and the local government. As a result of the agreement, more than 50 miners were selected and trained in occupational safety to work at the mining site. Mondulon's support comes in the form of safety trainings and the provisions of transportation and water for processing gold. Most importantly, it allows the small-scale miners to work on company land that has already been mined with heavy equipment. The artisanal miners work in those pits to gather the remaining gold. When the company is sure there is no gold left after the artisanal miners have worked the old pits, they then begin land rehabilitation.
Since cooperating with Mondulon Company, we have earned quite a lot. We recover about 100 grams of gold per day as a group. The earnings from our work are shared equally to all members, and we are happy and proud to say that we have paid income tax and have affiliated to health and social security insurances.
In order to become a more responsible and formal sector, artisanal miners are being organized into partnerships as required by the law. The Association of Artisanal Miners, a civil society organization comprised of artisanal miners partnerships, helps their members enter into formal agreements with the SOM administration and work officially at agreed mining sites. As of 2011, there were 11 NGOs representing more than 330 such partnerships throughout the country.
EMEC NGO was established with 128 members in 2009. We had lots of problems with access to mining land. To get mining land, we applied to local government and mining companies, but it did not work out. After the Parliament legalized the artisanal mining, we started our negotiation with large mining companies. Thanks to facilitation and support from the Sustainable Artisanal Mining Project, we were able to reach an agreement with the Mondulon Company to work on their mined-out sites. Our people are now working on Mondulon site just like formal miners. The company supports with us transportation to the mine pit and transporting our ore to the processing park. Samarsum government is very satisfied with this agreement, which is a model for others to follow, paving the way to settle the major conflicts in the Sum. This is a good practice not only on working together as a small and large-scale mine, but also efficient use of natural resources, which should be introduced to other areas in similar situations.
With the appropriate legal framework, artisanal and small-scale mining can be formalized and be a viable employment option with the potential to develop as a mining subsector in Mongolia. artisanal miners are beginning to undertake land rehabilitation. To assist them in that process, some training was held in October 2011 in Zamorsum in Tovamek for 50 artisanal miners from across Mongolia. As part of the training, technical and biological rehabilitation was undertaken on 0.5 hectares of land known as Ar Nambung, which had suffering damage resulting from artisanal mining. More than 1,500 aspen trees were planted, and the rehabilitation land was then fenced off. Based on the initiative of the Inkmunk Irgekholpa NGO, a tripartite consultative meeting on the implementation of artisanal mining legislation was held in Zamorsum in March 2012. The meeting, a joint venture between Inkmunk Irgekholpa NGO, the local government, and the Mondolang Trade Company, drew more than 160 participants, including representatives from the Altendornet Mongol Company, which operates in Zamorsum, and artisanal miners from Todingur, Haidlas, and Tuvpaks. As a result of the cooperation, made possible by the tripartite agreement, artisanal miners were able to extract gold that was unable to be mined with heavy equipment. Miners were also able to earn up to 450,000 tughras per month. In addition, 1.9 kilograms of gold was extracted within 6 months period. 89 million in revenue was distributed to members, and more than 12 million in taxes was paid to the state. During the tripartite meeting, Director Hamsurung said, "Everyone has an interest and aims to have a good life. In order to achieve that, one must create wealth, and one has to understand that we need to collaborate in order to create such wealth." On the other hand, mining is a riskier sector than other sectors. Therefore, in order to create wealth, all miners have to understand that ensuring safe operations and protecting human life and health, the most valuable asset, are indeed the most significant preconditions of the creation of such wealth.